Welcome to From the Riffs. Today we're going to go over the main book for Palladium Fantasy, give you an idea of what's in it and what the Palladium Fantasy is about.
Alright, first we're going to go over the some of the O.C.C.s, the men at arms. We got the Assassin, the Knight. We have the Longbowmen, who we'll come and highlight a little later. We also have the Mercenary Warrior, the Paladin, the Ranger, the Soldier, and the Thief. All these are pretty standard. The only one I think needs to be highlighted a little bit is the Longbowman, who is a ranged character, more or less if you don't intend on being at a distance or plan on being by yourself or separated from your party a lot, I wouldn't play the Longbowman. He definitely doesn't do well at the front of the line. Yeah,
the rest of them are pretty standard fantasy characters. But yeah, I don't think I've seen another game with a dedicated Longbowman. But again, it's a really cool class. Then we get on to the optional ones, and under optional we got a merchant, noble, a scholar, squire, and then we got the vagabond, who's also could be like a farmer or stuff. And they're really there for flavor.
Yes, I would keep in mind if you want to play the noble, the vagabond, the scholar, or anything of that sort. It's better for a high role play game, or for more experienced players if you're going to be in and amongst men of arms or magic users. Yeah. Simply because you're really not designed for combat, you're designed for the flavor or the experience of the world.
Yeah, that's why they're optional. Okay, then we go on to the practitioners of magic. Now in there we have the dialist. He relies on writing wards, and it means as a player you have to really prep ahead of time, because the way it works is you inscribe these runes, or excuse me, wards, and then you place them somewhere, and then if someone disrupts them, then they go off. So you have to think ahead because you're not casting lightning bolts or anything.
You're almost like a magic bomb maker, or trap setter.
Then we have the summoner, and this is the character who brings in demons or angels or something to serve him, and you know, kind of walks around with his entourage. After that, we have the Warlock. He's the elemental specialist, so you'll have like one of the 4 elements at your command, be it fire, air, earth, or water, and you sling spells of the appropriate type. You also can summon in elementals too, although it's kind of hard to do of your type. After that, we have the Wizard. This is the standard wizard in every medieval fantasy, but in Palladium, magic is not that common, so there's not a ton of spell slingers out there.
Right. The thing about Palladium, you'll find, as with, if we can liken it to worlds that are kind of like maybe Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, those worlds where magic, though it exists, or magical influences exist, you don't have people walking down the street casting fireballs, or there's not this world where every second person knows or even understands magic. If you are a magic user or someone who understands magic, you are kind of special.
Yeah, I mean it's fun in that you stand out, but you're also a target because he's got a mage, kill the mage,
or capture him and use him for your will.
Yeah. After that, we have the 2 kind of non-player classes, or well, one's actually a non-player, the other one we generally make one in our game. The first is the Alchemist, the non-player. He's the who makes the magic items and stuff. The other is the Witch. The Witch is an evil-only class, so it generally causes party disruption if you have it in your class, and it's uber powerful, so he's kind of a notch above the other characters in what he can do, and sometimes it really disrupts the game. So we generally make that a non-player in our games. But that's all the magic users. After that, we get the Clergy. In the Clergy, we have the Druid, who's kind of the nature, the one of the 5 ways.
The grassroots type magic user, relying on nature and things around him in order to use his magical ability.
But it's not like straight spell slinging, though. It is kind of these, druidic, nature-based abilities.
Preparatory magic.
Yeah. Then we have the monk, who's kind of the fighting shaman type character, the Eastern style monk.
User chi.
Yeah, and has special stick fighting skills and stuff. After that, we have the Priests of Light and of Dark.
Wow.
You wanted to...
Yeah, it's important to remember that as in any medieval fantasy setting, in Palladium fantasy, there isn't one or even two overlapping religions for the entire world. There are different sects and different religious organizations all over the place. Some good, some evil, some in between.
Yeah. And there's cults and all kinds of things.
Absolutely.
Okay, after that we have the Psychics. Psychics are real simple. I can go through these in a hurry. There's the Mind Mage. This is the kind of master of psychic powers. For riffs, it would be the equivalent of the Mind Melter. Then we have the Psychic Healer, the Psychic Mystic, and the Psychic Sensitive. They're all kind of low-level psychics, each with their own specialization. And that kind of rounds out all the O.C.C.s in it. Now, being a fantasy game, most fantasy games, the races are as important as the class you play. And there's quite a big selection in Palladium Fantasy for races.
Absolutely.
You
have your standard humans, you have elves, you have dwarves, you have gnomes.
Then we get into all the monster races. So in monsters, there's giants, multiple types of giants to play. You could play goblins, hobgoblins. You could play kobolds, orcs, ogres, which I actually like quite a bit. Troglodytes, trolls, again, another one. You can actually play a troll and play him as a mage. Then we have the kind of canine races. So there's the wolfen, who's sort of a humanoid wolf, and there's a coyote, who's the humanoid version of a coyote. And there's also in the Monsters and Animals book, there's a humanoid version of a fox. And then there's the changeling, the race that everybody despises, who can shift their form to look like different races. But the flexibility, or the variation in the races you can play is both a good thing and a bad thing, because in this world, unlike most traditional fantasies where everybody gets along, there is a lot of bigotry and hatred amongst the races in Palladium to give it a more realistic feel. So for instance, back in the past, there was a massive war between the elves and the dwarves, and they've never really gotten over that. So like the elves and dwarves, they come meet in a bar, and it's not, oh, hey, how you doing? Yeah, it's like, I want to pull my axe out,
Yeah, exactly.
Which is cool because it lends some flavor to it and makes it, kind of a more believable fantasy than a lot of ones you play.
Right.
A lot of fantasies are over the top, where this one is, like you said before, it's more of that lower scale, epic quest, but not uber power.
Right. You even have like the Wolfen. They're almost a Romanized imperial set, and they tend to look down on other races. So some of them do anyway. This also creates an opportunity for any GM to create political intrigue, which gives your characters a reason for a quest. Your quest does not always have to be go find the mystic sword of yada yada to jam into the hole of blah blah blah. It could be a matter of go and meet this emissary and be sure that he comes here to negotiate peace.
Yeah.
And you can literally create an entire story built around the people themselves, as opposed to simple item quests and hunting down beasts and monsters, which is also fun. But
yeah, it's nice in that it does give a little bit more of a realistic flavor to it. Now, as far as mechanics goes, it's these kind of standard Megaverse mechanics. So your skills are based on percentile, combat is resolved on D20, psychic powers use ISP, spells use PPE. So it does maintain the common mechanics, but it's just a nice, simple fantasy if you want fantasy.
Indeed, indeed. Another thing that we should note about the book itself is that it's a bit of an older book. However, again, we get the top-notch Palladium art, and it is quite hefty.
Yeah, it's a good size book.
Taking the size into consideration. And it is, again, very reasonably priced. So, check it out. Get your fantasy on. Palladium style.
Well, that's it for us from the Riffs, and we'll see you later.